patrons. The exhibit on Weapons Through the Ages is now closed. Thank you for visiting the British Museum.
Aha! That's what I would do if the Blade Bandit was in the window. Yeah, Mum? Have to grab him. I'm gonna have to call you back. Where do you think you're going? It's no use running. I've seen your face. From our exhibit.
It's the British Museum.
So?
Everything in here is stolen.
You sure?
Oh, she's having you.
Just borrowing it.
Super somber sleepover medieval birthday party. My mom invited her here. If I can scare her badly enough, and she calls her mom to come pick her up, she'll think I'm such a freak that she'll never want to speak to me again. Oh my god. Lock in. There are worlds to conquer.
Oh, I knew it! I knew you hated my guts! I only wanted to be thy noble companion!
No! Why? My mother invited you here, and you just wanted to feast for free!
'Twas a lie! I only wanted to be thy companion!
Sleepover.
My favorite thing about this class is Paul is really good at teaching the fundamentals of how to build any kind of move you want. And so the things that we just would come up with because it's like, oh, this is really exciting, like jumping on the back and like choking with the flashlight, like building those moments using skills we learned earlier in the semester.
And like safety valves, like we like already knew like how to handle like anything that was gonna be like across a throw, like you were gonna.
Yeah.
I think the most nerve-wracking thing was to get things in our hands, you know, because at first we were like, oh, I can take care of, like, you know, I know when to stop here, but when you have something in your hand, it's a little more momentum. And but that was like the most, like, I think broadsword was my favorite, and I wouldn't have expected that, so that's cool.
Naps. I'm really bad at naps. So getting like a consistent nap so that it like sounds like you're actually getting hit, and like the right kind of nap, like being like, is this what it would sound like if I was kicked in the face? Or should I do like something like this? Like, and it would end up with me just like smacking random parts of my body trying to get them.
I feel like half the class felt like a fitness course and the other half felt like a magic class.
I think the funnest part about this class, which also like maybe the most difficult, is that like you can fight with anything, and like figuring out that like every single item or like anything in the room could have a purpose in a fight, and it's applicable to one of the few like weapons that we touch. Like it's like, oh, if this is similar to a quarterstaff, then I can use and parry as a quarterstaff. So like all the principles that we've been learning, like it's been fun because it's like, wait, like you're telling me I could like hit someone with a chair and like make it like look cool, like you can hit someone with anything. But I also think like that does become most difficult with sometimes getting over ambitious. Of like, okay, I gotta do this here and this here and this here, but most of the times like simpler and like cleaner is better than so many moves like all at once, and like trying to like make it a big extravagant thing. Like the cleaner they are, like the more realistic it looks and fun it is, because you know exactly what's happening.
Jonah knows that he needs to, there's a scene that he's doing next month where he's gonna need to like hit somebody. So how does that feel now, like having done this? That's what I was going at, if that makes sense.
I know I feel a lot more comfortable in my skills and knowing what's safe for me and where my limits are. And also, I feel like I have more of an awareness on what will be realistic and also safe. Like, making something safe is pretty easy. Making something convincing and safe, that's what I feel like this class really merged those things. Like, and convincing, part of that is the acting of the moment. Part of it is the sleight of hand, but a big part of it is the acting, and I feel like this class was a great opportunity to learn how to blend those things together.
Also, something else that Paul does that I think is really nice is he makes you work with a different partner for every single thing, and I think that's a great experience because you learn to fight with different people who have different tendencies. Like, I have a tendency to like kind of go high on some of my aims and stuff, so like it's nice to like get to work with people who each have their own like things they're working on, so you can like, I think it makes it more adaptable when you go into a production. It's not like we're actually fighting. It's like we're fighting for a stage, and Paul's really good at like knowing when it looks realistic versus like, I feel like there's been times I've seen productions where they're almost too realistic and I'm scared that they're gonna hit each other, and I think Paul does a really good job of like towing the line of like, this looks really realistic, it looks good, but I am sitting in the audience and I know it's like safe and I'm not actually worried about them.
What strengths have you guys discovered about yourself working throughout this class? What have you learned that you naturally do very well, and what are some things that you would like to continue to work on?
I feel like something that came naturally to me was the like communication part of like, what's our safety valve, like making sure I'm like getting consent from the other person and like, or like, you know, getting their okay. But I think that also kind of was my detriment a little bit, because I would chicken out on certain things, like that those dang like long form across the heads. We worked forever on that with me because I would just kind of like, and they're like, Sam, you're like too far away. So it was like the towing the line of like, all right, I already got my consent, just do it, you know. And I think that was good.
I think something that I've gotten better at and like feel like I have a great sense of is like feeling grounded when I'm like about to start a fight, like making sure that I'm like bending my knees and breathing. And I think like that's like the next step that I want to work on is like always being conscious of that and like always thinking about that, to the point where like it's so habitual that I'm not like, oh, I'm holding my breath and now I'm back in the scene. Like, they're all happening together with the acting and the fighting and having them all work together.
I think I'm really good at being excited for this kind of thing and like giving it my best go and like having fun with it and like having cool ideas to try to incorporate. But I do want to like, something I talked about in evals, Paul prompted it, just like knowing that I can be badass and like actually being like, oh yeah, I can fight. This is my weapon. I'm in control of this and allowing that. It's so cool. It's so fun, but then I'm doing it and I'm like, I just feel so silly with the little
The guy with the sword.
When you start the class, like I was kind of like, yeah, like we're gonna fight, but a lot of it is like smoke and mirrors and looking like and figuring out how to look cool. Like it's like one time Paul was like, just stare in a mirror and make yourself. Maybe it was when you were teaching.
It was
we were like,
Paul
so
asked
cool, and I was like,
Marion to do it. Stare at yourself in the mirror and look cool.
We're like, be
Yeah.
badass.